What's up, everybody? I just felt like I'd do a video on the importance of potlucks, and affordable affordable food, because a lot of our money goes to be spent on food, and not only do we spend a lot of our money and our income on food, a lot of us, we live in gentrified areas. If you don't know what gentrification is, it's when the house cost of living is pretty high. And sometimes, people think, gentrification is a good idea to solve, solve the issue of impoverished areas, to renovate impoverished areas. That does cause to a lot of turmoil. A lot of turmoil we're in America right now deals with gentrification issues. Like real estate, it's big money for them to sell these houses for as much as they can sell them for. So why am I talking about gentrification? Well, there's a link between gentrification and the cost of living, and how much you spend your money on food. So it's like there's kind of like this like idea where it's like people have to choose between the cost of housing or the like paying for food or paying for housing. Like you pay for your housing, but you can't eat limited meals, or you could be homeless and have food stamps and like be able to eat but have no home. There's a lot of that going on actually, or or not even like having food stamps, but maybe having a job and living in your car and then have enough money for food or whatnot, or like whatever, right? So gentrification, and that typically leads to the issue of food deserts. And so that that goes with like not having a supermarket near you, not having like a Trader Joe's, not having like Safeway, not having this or that. But also can deal with just like being stuck around like places that don't serve real food per se, like McDonald's, Taco Bell. It's like, I mean, that type of food is affordable, but I mean studies have shown that like I think like Taco Bell's like beef like failed to qualify as beef because it wasn't even like 20% beef. It has to be like 20% beef to be qualified as beef. Like according to like USDA food standards. This was like an issue that happened when I was in high school or something that everybody was talking about. So it's like the issue of affordable food and then real food. You might not care. You might love eating cardboard from McDonald's and Taco Bell or whatnot. And it's kind of hard to afford organic food nowadays because they made organic food a luxury, which it shouldn't be a luxury. Everybody should just be eating real organic food. There shouldn't be this fake food. That's kind of ridiculous. Um, all food should technically be like organic. Um, Genetic modification of food is a different issue because not all GMO foods are bad per se. However, it's kind of weird when you start like introducing like the DNA from like a gecko into a tomato or whatnot. Stuff gets kind of fishy from there on out. So then GMO foods can be like worse than foods that are like made of like pesticides, this and that. So it gets pretty tricky. What is like safe to eat? Like what do we consider real food? Because like pesticides, like atrazine, are endocrine disruptors, and they can disrupt your hormone balance. And that's why people are saying we live in this like hormone toxic soup, where that's why people are like becoming transgender because their hormones are being disrupted due to like pesticides and chemicals and toxic waste, right? So this is like getting us to think. So like there's that issue with like food not being real, right? That's another issue entirely. That's kind of tangential to what I was going to initially talk about. Um, so what I really aiming to talk about was, the issue with food deserts and the cost of being able to afford food. And so, I think, you know, the importance of potlucks, Um, and so, that's a great way to reduce the cost of eating because, you can have a big group of people and everybody can bring, a shareable sized meal to match. Maybe just a bag of chips, some salsa, some guacamole, and then everybody can mix and match and share. Maybe do a potluck with maybe like tacos. Bring like somebody brings tortillas, somebody brings beans, somebody brings cheese, somebody brings some meat. Like barbecue. There's a variety of ways to think of a potluck, and some other ways could just be like a bunch of everybody throws five on. I got five on it on some pizza. Like everybody in your group throws five on pizza because a lot of you are eating alone. And some of these meals, like especially in these gentrified areas, like in California, New York, or wherever, they're going up to 12 over $10, and it's like you think maybe like I mean, there's some good places like the Habit. I mean, you might not think the Habit is the best quality. Um, Habit Burger, it's like they can get a burger for like 3.50 or whatnot, or like $4. That's not a bad. That's like a good meal. You could live off of like like higher quality fast food, like one meal of higher quality fast food a day, and you could live off that. It's not the best, but I mean, it's better than going broke off eating like three meals of expensive food a day or whatnot. Everybody's eating like pokey. Everybody's eating like it's all these expensive meals. It's like per person it comes up to like more than $10. You went up from like $8 meals to like now people are spending up to like 15, 14, 13, $17 just to eat per person at some of these places where they make it like individual meals have to be that price. But there are other places where you can, mix and match and people can like, kind of like Grubhub kind of, like, you can go to Pizza My Heart and like, even if you have just like two people, maybe like three people, four people, it's like the price of a slice, there's like about $5. It used to be like $2.50, $3 per slice back when I was in like middle school and high school. Now like the prices are going up from like $5 per slice, but if you have like four people, then you guys can like all chip in $5 for like a big pizza, and that goes from $1 or one slice for $5 to two to three slices for $5 per person. So it's more affordable. So that's another way to look at a potluck. But so yeah, it's important, to have friends so that you can pitch in, if your coworkers and whatnot, and like pitch in your tip money, and just all these prices are just going up, so we all have to think of ways to be more economical with our spending, and because I mean, if we keep like spending more for food, then the price for food everywhere will go up. There's always like really bougie restaurants coming in. It's nice to have like a fancy dinner, you know, but it's almost more important to incentivize the demand for affordable food. So that's why potlucks are so important. And potlucks are a great way to have a social gathering and a great way to share. And so, it's like there's a high scale level of potlucks where you can have like a big group of people at your house or a picnic or whatnot. And then there's a smaller level of potluck, that can either be just within your family, your relationship, or group of friends, And it's very important to consider like the importance of potlucks and like chipping in, pitching in, because the more you spend like too much money on food or spending money to eat by yourself, you know, over time, it's just going to incentivize, encourage food prices to go up, and that can lead to food deserts. And then it'll be difficult for people, to afford food to eat. And, that's one issue, that's important. And then, there's different levels to it because, like, McDonald's is highly affordable, Taco Bell is highly affordable. But, I mean, so that's kind of like one issue at a time. So it's kind of like a balance because you want to be eating real food and not fake food. And you want to be able to afford your food. And so, there's kind of like, so say, you do have to eat McDonald's, you'd probably want to eat McDonald's as infrequently as possible. Maybe once a week, maybe once a month. Typically once a month. Like cheat meals per se. Like studies have shown that like cheat meals, like once a month or once every like 27 days, or like one day out of a moon cycle per chance, which is like 28, 27 days, right? Typically doesn't like harm like gains or results for like a diet or for a workout routine. Um, so that can be um like an exception, having McDonald's fake food like once a month or whatever. But there's like pizzerias you can go to where the food is pretty well decent. I wouldn't consider it fake per se. Maybe like some, this quality does vary, Um, but yeah, so I don't want to go too long into this. Potlucks are important as of like 2020s now. We should all be, investing more of our time, making friends with your coworkers, making friends at school or wherever, and thinking about planning on either throwing potlucks or just like, getting group meals where you spend less money for more food, making things more affordable so that you save money over time. And this is coming from someone who has 26 years of wisdom and experience, post college, um, undergrad, graduate, and some experience in grad school, and working in society in the real world. Some people have affluenza per se, and they come from super rich families where they'll never have to worry about spending too much money on food. And then other people come from middle class families where they've had everything provided for them fairly well up until after college, and then they have to work on their own from there on out. Start paying for health insurance per se after they're 25, and depending on what generation you were born in, life is much different. Like society is much different than how it was when you were being raised in like say your teens or early 20s even. Um, so yeah, it's important to consider, you know, methods, efficient and effective methods for survival, in the real world. Because, although we're not hunter gatherers anymore, some of us are, some of us are like starting co-ops and communes, um, which can be great ways to provide for food for a group of people. This can kind of go into levels of like technically slave labor per se, where it's like you're working just for food, which can or cannot be I'd say I don't know, like depends on how it's all done. I haven't worked on a co-op or commune yet in my life. But now you see like, the prices for like organic food are just like way too high, or like this and that. But I mean, it depends on where you go. Trader Joe's is selling affordable organic food for affordable prices, and like potlucks don't have to be too fancy. You can just be eating. Everybody can eat bagels. Bagels with cream cheese and hot sauce are pretty good. So simple meals matter. There's different levels to it where you can be eating more or less extravagantly. Um, but yeah, I guess I think I'm starting to lose my train of thought. Just so yeah, the importance of potlucks and eating together, and spending less money for more food, like pitching in, having like throwing five on it, like like you get like four people throwing $5 on a meal. That's a $20 meal versus like imagine one person spending $20 on a meal, but then it depends on where you're going because you want to get the right amount of quantity for the price. So it's tricky, tricky, tricky. So yeah, importance of potluck.